back to my channel. It is Sunday, Easter Sunday, and I am going to do another Easter video this year. I will have linked down below last year's Easter dinner, which is going to be a bit different this time around. I'm still just going to be cooking for 2 people, so keep that in mind. If you need to adjust for a larger crowd, please go ahead and do that. However, the one thing I really love about springtime or Easter is lamb, and I don't really cook it very often, so this is kind of the excuse for me to go get it and prepare it and cook it. Normally leg of lamb is my favorite, but I actually didn't see it in the store yesterday, so I'm going to do lamb chops instead. This is Cosmo, and he's going to be left in the other room as I wipe down the kitchen and start prepping, because if he smells food, he'll just come around and eat it, and the other one is just as bad. The other thing is, when I prepare my Easter menu, I almost always go Mediterranean, and that's just how it is for me. But it's always really good. So for my menu, I have the lamb chops. I'm going to do roasted potatoes. I'm going to do roasted asparagus, as well as some zucchini stuffed with a ricotta filling. So I need to prepare the filling first. And what am I missing? And I am going to make a dessert that is going to be super easy. And that will be like puff pastry with cream and berries, and if you're not a baker, this is still pretty low-key and you should be able to put it together. Okay, so this looks like a lot. There's a couple of things missing, which I'll get as the time comes, but I have, starting from the left, my potatoes that I've washed. I'm going to be making a green sauce with some parsley, chives, garlic, shallot, and capers, as well as probably a little bit of lemon. I have my asparagus, and then my ricotta cheese, a lemon, some red pepper flake, zucchini. This on the bottom right, that tower, that's baby arugula. I don't need the whole thing, but I am going to use some of it. And then I have some different kinds of berries and my contro. A lot of this is about prep work, because when it comes to the actual cooking, I don't need to do much to the asparagus. I don't really need to do much to the potatoes either. My lamb is going to be short and sweet, and there's also puff pastry that I have in the freezer, but that's just going to wait for me for a little bit. First thing I want to do, I want to prep my berries and prep the ricotta cheese for my zucchini. So with my berries, I've rinsed them off, and I'm just going to toss them with a little bit of sugar and some contro. So this is what happens as I'm prepping food. I'll usually grab a bite of whatever it is, and this is one to gauge the flavor. So like if the strawberries weren't as sweet, I might add a little extra sugar, but actually they're pretty good right now, which I'm surprised because I feel it's still a little early, and I'll just, you know. So to this, I'm just going to sprinkle a little sugar. You're not going to need very much. It's going to depend on the sweetness of your fruit. And some, I'm using contro. You can use Grand Marnier. You can also use amaretto, whatever your preference is. But I feel with berries, those are the top 2. So you're going to toss this really well. If you have mint, you can use mint, but this is good enough. So I'm going to toss this, put it in the fridge, and it will be ready for when you need it later. For my herb sauce, I want to get that prepped, and I'm just going to chop up a nice big bunch of parsley as well as my chives. My chive will be next. I want to finely dice this because I don't want super big pieces in the sauce. And again, all of this, once it gets combined, it will just hang out in the fridge or even just on your countertop until you're ready to serve. And this will make all the flavors come together, and it is really, really good, especially with lamb. Same for the garlic. You want to just really finely chop it. You also want to add some capers. I'm just going to chop them up. And I would say a spoonful. Again, this is all to taste, so you can do however much or little you'd like. So to this, you're going to add some cracked black pepper, as well as a good hit of salt, and then olive oil and a touch of the red wine vinegar. You want this to become saturated, so the vinegar will also kind of temper the shallots and garlic. Now, you can go ahead and taste this if you need to add a little more salt, pepper, olive oil, or vinegar. Just go ahead and adjust. I had added more parsley in the end because I felt like there was a lot of shallot and chive action going on. So this is going to be delicious. I always like lamb with this type of green sauce. Okay, so now we're going to deal with the ricotta. I found the small tub, and that's really more than enough, way more than enough. I think I might only use half. And I'm gonna do a pinch of salt and pepper. And this, I'm gonna add some red pepper flakes, but you can omit it if you want. Just to have a little bit of heat. I'm also going to add some good extra virgin olive oil, and this will add some flavor. I'm going to add some parsley to this as well, finely chopped. And then to this, you want to grate some lemon zest. I'm going to use the zest of the whole lemon. And then all you want to do is mix this up and set it aside. If you want, you can put this in the fridge again so that it kind of sets up. You can also taste this again to check for seasoning. But this will do for our filling. My asparagus, I'm just gonna, again, just prep them. They don't really take too long when they roast, at least not for me, because I don't like mushy vegetables. So I like to just have this ready to go. So I'm gonna trim the bottoms and then put a little bit of olive oil, salt, and pepper, and that'll be ready when I need to get them in. You can also sprinkle some Parmesan cheese on top of this, and that would be really good, but I'm just going to leave this plain for tonight. So my zucchini, I want to prepare them and have it ready to assemble with the cheese. I'm going to trim the ends, and then I'm going to slice them pretty thin. If you have a mandolin, this would be faster and maybe better, but I don't. So I'm just going to slice them pretty thinly, and I'm going to be grilling them briefly. And I'm not going to use the ends, so you want to be able to cut the zucchini thin enough so that after you cook it, you're going to be actually rolling them. they'll be a little bit more flexible once that happens. This is a lot harder than it looks with a knife, so I would definitely suggest having a mandolin, or you can use a vegetable peeler, the one that, you know, when you, I think it's called a Y peeler, so you could just basically slice it like that. If you're doing it with a knife and you're just, you know, maybe getting pieces like this, set it aside and eat it with, I don't know, hummus or something else later on. I've decided to do something a little different with my potatoes. I'm gonna start them in some water. I'm gonna add some cracked garlic and shallot to this, as well as some thyme, and I do need to add some salt. So I got this idea from someone on TikTok. I will credit them down below in the description box. And I thought, wow, that looks so good. I just haven't had a chance to try it out, and I just remembered. So I thought, I'm gonna try it. So I'm bringing up my water to a boil with my potatoes in here, some salt, the rest of the shallot that I didn't use for my green sauce, some butter, olive oil, cracked garlic, thyme, and this is going to come to a boil, or a simmer rather. It's going to poach in the water, and then as it reduces, we're going to let it brown in the pan from the olive oil and butter. So for my zucchini, I want to lay them in a saute pan. We're going to cook them until they're tender and that they're easy enough to roll. So you're not really looking to brown them too much, but this is good. And then I'm gonna have a plate ready so that I can take them off and let them drain a little bit. Okay, so my potatoes are simmering. This is the last batch of my zucchini. I'm going to start up my oven so that it will get preheated for my asparagus. Okay, so you want your zucchini to cool, because if you put the cheese onto this right now, it's just gonna completely melt and nothing will hold together. I'm preheating my oven, however, I just remembered about dessert. So I'm gonna be using puff pastry. And there's a couple of different versions that you can find. You might find something that's a big sheet. However, I was able to find something like this, which are just pastry squares, so you can use as many as you need. I'm gonna pull 2 of these out and put them on a baking sheet. I only need 2 because it's for 2 people. And this will make an impressive dessert, I would think. And if you find these individual ones, I would highly suggest getting them. You can cut the sheet into squares if needed, but these are kind of nice too. So I'm just gonna put them on a baking sheet and bake them until they're nice and golden brown, and then have it set aside for when I'm ready to assemble my dessert later on. The other thing that I'm gonna prep also is my whipped cream or chantilly cream, which is basically whipping cream with a little bit of sugar and vanilla. For my cream, I have a chilled cup, and I've also chilled my whisk, and I have my sugar, vanilla, and cream in here. Okay, I'm gonna preheat my pan. I'm gonna season my lamb on both sides with some salt and pepper, and that is all I'm going to use. Here are my potatoes. They are cooked. I drained some of the liquid because I felt it would take forever to reduce, but it's gonna keep working, and then as there's less and less liquid, I'm gonna smash them a little bit. Okay, my asparagus came out, my puff pastry went in, and that's gonna cook until golden brown. For my potatoes, I'm just going to get a cup and smash them. Be careful. It is hot in here. I'm using this, but I probably could have grabbed something else. You just want to break them open. And then you're going to let these go until they start to brown and crisp. If you need to flip them, go ahead. And you want to hear a sizzle when you drop in your lamb chop. So I've pulled out my puff pastry and it looks like this because I did not prick it with a fork before putting it into the oven, which is fine because what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of knock in a little hole and fill it with the cream and the berries. However, I do want this to cool first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Perdón. Here we have our lamb chops with some asparagus and our potatoes, and then our zucchini.